Okay, so we're going to do Chazara today on the machlokas between whether or not tam is mevuar or not, and then we're going to wrap up the sugya with the machlokas Rabbi and Gamliel. Okay, so let's just overview the svara, and then you guys can ask which things are unclear. Okay, so again, the basic facts of the machlokas were: one side holds the tam of a min which is kalu becomes mevuar, meaning to say that it is considered as if it is destroyed. So essentially it doesn't exist anymore.
The changing process caused it to be destroyed, is that what we got at?
Right, meaning, factually, the machlokas is, the side that holds tam as mevuar holds that when the leek becomes chayav in biur, any tam that it was nosein into the other minim in the chavis is now considered as if it's non-existent. It's considered as if it's destroyed. Okay. That's what it means, tam is mevuar. Okay? The other side's going to hold that tam is not destroyed. It's still there. It's a tam shel iser, and therefore, and this is Rabbi Eliezer's position, therefore the tam of the leek, which is now chayav biur, will make the other minim, which are not yet chayav biur, also chayav biur, because it has the tam of something which is chayav biur inside of it. Okay? Now, that is all based on whether or not you view that tam as still existing or not. If it still exists, so then these other minim are also chayav biur. If it doesn't still exist, because it's considered as if it's destroyed, so then it's like it's not there, and these other minim are not yet kalu, so they're good until they are kalu. Right? That's the basic facts of the machlokas. Right? Everyone so far so good?
Yeah.
Okay. So the basic move we made in the svara is to say like this, that do you view the status of a chiyav biur, right, the chalo shem biur, as if it is a status, just like any other status, and just like you could have a status of regular iser that applies to something. So in this case, you have a status. The status is chayav biur, and now it applies to this min when the date of kalu applies. That's Rabbi Eliezer. He views this as a regular chalo shem, a regular chalo shem iser, and therefore the time is not mevuar. Right, that side is the simpler side. Or do you say that the characteristic of the status that you're applying affects the manner in which it's applied? Okay, what does that mean? That means that here, the status you're applying isn't just the status of Isser. In fact, like we pointed out yesterday, it's not really a status of Isser at all. It's a status of a Chiyav Biur, which incidentally produces Isser. Because since you have to destroy it, you can't eat it. It's not that it's essentially Asr, it's that you have to destroy it. Now, because that's the case, the character of this status, of this Chalo Shem, is different than a typical Chalo Shem Isser. And therefore, according to Rabbi Yeshua and Rabbi Gamliel, who hold tam is mevuar, so they say that the characteristic of biur, of destruction, apply to the Chalo Shem, and it changes the meaning of the application of the status. So when it comes to tam, the characteristic of destruction applies to the tam in a way which results in the tam being considered as if it's destroyed. So the chefza must be destroyed. You have to do a maisa of biur to the chefza, because the chefza physically is still around. Okay, but the tam is now considered by applying the status of a chiyav biur to it as if it's already destroyed. We'll get to your question in a minute. That's the basic idea. So the question hinges on whether you view the character of the chalo shem as relevant to the way in which the chalo shem applies. If you say it's irrelevant, so then it's a status just like any other status. If you say it's relevant, so then the characteristic of biur will affect the way in which it applies. Okay, so Dylan asked and answered his own question. We're going to discuss it and see if everyone else understands it as well. The question is like this: if you're going to tell me that the side that holds tam is mevuar holds the character of the chalo shem, affects the chalo shem, and that therefore the tam is considered to be mevuar, okay, because the character of this chalo shem is biur, it's not just a chalo shem shel iser. So then why don't you make the same argument about the gufa min itself? Say it's as if the gufa min itself doesn't exist. It's mevuar, just like the tam is mevuar. What's the difference? Right? That's the question that Dylan asked. Yeah. Okay, so Dylan's answer to his question is that the way halacha views the guf of the min, the physical substance of the min, is different than the way it views tam. Okay, tam is a purely conceptual entity. Okay, it's true there's a culinary reality to tam, you do taste it, but in halacha's eyes, tam is a purely conceptual reality. And therefore, it's not subject to a chiyuv biur. There's no way to destroy tam. It either exists or it doesn't exist. You can't do a maisa of destruction to tam. So therefore, when you apply the chalos shem of a chiyuv biur, the status of an obligation to destroy to tam, the result of that is that we now say the tam is if it's not here. Not that you now need to destroy it, because that wouldn't mean anything. How do you destroy tam? I mean, you could mask tam. You can't really destroy tam. Okay? Whereas a physical substance, that can be destroyed. So the chalos shem of a chiyuv biur is just that. It's a chiyuv biur. You need to destroy it. Not that it is already destroyed, but that you now have an obligation to destroy it. Okay, so that's the basic answer that I think we said yesterday that Dylan is now comfortable with from the sound of it. Okay, good. So there's one more piece that we have to put together to lock up this Tosfos, which is the machlokas between Rabbi Yehoshua and Rabbi Gamliel, both of whom hold that tam is mevuar. Both of them hold that. Okay, so what's the difference between them? Rabbi Yeshua holds until the last min is chayav biur, you can eat all of them, even the minim which were already kalu. Why? Because the tam heter of the final min, which is not yet kalu, is in the first two minim which are kalu. And that tam heter, somehow, according to Rabbi Yeshua, is enough to override, is enough to override the physical substance, which is exactly what the Ri doesn't like about Rabbi Yeshua. He says, I don't understand, this is astonishing. Oh, fine, I'll grant. There's tam heter in the min. Fine, there's tam heter in the min. I'll grant you that. But so what? How does the tam over? I mean, we're talking about mashas versus tam. It's crazy.
Tam's
right?
going to beat a goof down.
It's very strange, right? Whereas Rabbi Gamliel doesn't hold that way. Rabbi Gamliel says, no. Look, I hold tam as mavor. I hold tam as mavor, and I don't hold by this idea that Rabbi Yeshua has that the tam heter is enough to matter the goof shel iser. So therefore, I'm just going to look at each min independently. When each min becomes chayav and biur, so then that min is aser. The other minim are fine because tam is mavor. The other minim which are not yet kalu don't make this mutter because I don't have that idea. So I just look at each min independently. That's it. Okay. So now the question we have is, what can we say to define this machlokas? In other words, really, what we're really asking is, how does it work according to Rabbi Yeshua that the tam heter of the min which is not yet kalu is enough to matter the goof of the min which is kalu? So basically, the svara we gave is that do you view the nesinas tam as producing a new entity, or do you have the old entity with the sum of the tam from the other thing? Do you view it as A with the tam of B, or is it AB? So if you say it's AB, so Rabbi Yeshua will say, since it's a new entity, and that entity is not kalu from the sada yet, so there's no chiyuv biur, and therefore you could eat the whole thing. Whereas Rabbi Gamliel doesn't get into the issue of whether it's kalu or not, because he doesn't say you have a new entity. He says you have A with the tam of B. So, okay, it's very nice you have tam heter here, but you have A, which is a min which is kalu, and therefore it's chayav biur. So there's a little bit of tam heter in the thing, which is chayav biur. Okay. That's the question. Do you have A with the tam of B, or do you have a new entity because of the nesinas tam of AB? This Gemara was Rav Ashi's attempt at lining up the machlokas in our Mishnah of the Tana Kama and Rabbi Yehuda. So the Rashi explains to you how it lines up. That the machlokas is where you have a chavis with these three minim, and you take it from makom A to makom B, and while in makom B, one of the minim in the chavis becomes chayav and biur. And that's the machlokas in the Mishnah between the Tana Kama and Rabbi Yehuda. And the way it lines up, if I remember correctly, Rashi says like this. He says, Rabbi Yehuda hapligi, the Tana Kama savar la Rabbi Yeshua. So the Tana Kama who holds by chomrei makom holds like Rabbi Yeshua, that it goes by the last min, because I guess he's going to say that the chomrei makom means that because there are other minim here which are still mutter, chomrei makom doesn't impose, and therefore he holds by Rabbi Yeshua. Whereas Rabbi Yehuda ends up holding like Rabbi Gamliel, which is the way we paskin, which is you look at each min independently, which is much more in line with the idea of the chefza.